You know, niggas gotta get their priorities together. Got their mind on the wrong things, spending their money in the wrong way.
Trapaholics, real trap shit.
Say you need that car with the rims and a charm, just like Jim. It's more than life. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Talk to him.
Say you need that LV bag
For what?
with the belt and the hat.
That's all you got though.
It's more than life. Yeah.
Talk to him. Real.
Say you wanna turn up at the club,
Why?
buy some bottles, impress them girls.
what?
It's more than life.
Oh, fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast and Who Dat. And this evening, we have a fun one. We have a fun topic up next here coming up, and it is a main course. Got some Saints news here. I don't know if you would call this Saints news, but Saints related. Some people get very upset and frustrated about these little things that come out. And what I'm talking about the Madden ratings. Madden ratings have been released recently, and there's always a stir of players and fans that think they didn't get a high enough rating. So it's always kind of fun to go over that and see kind of where your team places, and it gives you kind of an idea of how other people, other fans, and other media markets kind of feel and see your team. So it's kind of a fun thing to go over. So we'll go through those ratings and see what my opinion is on those. But anyways, let's get into this. So can I get a menu? And the first thing I want to say about this is I don't really play like traditional Madden that much, but with saying that, so the rating system is different with what I play. I play quite a bit of Madden Mobile. I play a lot of live arena play and league versus league on there, but the ratings for that game is completely different. You see players on the traditional Madden. I think there is an Madden Ultimate Team on Madden, so I don't know if the ratings and the overall ratings and whatnot change once you get to that point. But the Ultimate Team Madden Mobile that I play, players at this point in the season, it's Madden 23, Madden Mobile 23 still. At this stage in the season, there's Madden Max players, Madden Max foil players that are rated like when they're maxed out, 10 leveled up by 10, maxed out, and a Madden Max foil player, they're up in like the 400 overall, so 99 isn't nothing on that game at this point. So it's a little different, but I think it still is understandable where the rankings are. And, obviously it's just a scale of 1 to 100, but more like 1 to 99. It's a scale of 1 to 99. I remember a couple of years ago on one of the Maddens that they had a couple players that were rated 100 overall, but don't think they did that on the last Madden or this one. But we'll go ahead and get into these rankings and see how. I think I got like the top 15 for like every position, and see where the Saints match up in those position categories. So right off the bat, this just kind of set up easier for me with what I'm reading it off. So first thing off the bat, first ratings up is quarterback ratings. I guess I could have held that off a little bit for a finale, but let's dig deep in this right now. And I'm trying to think if I want to name off the Saints ratings first, or name off the top 15 ratings first. I think this will just add for some more dramatic effect, because once I'm going down this list, you'll be wondering like, where is the Saints player? Is there going to be a Saints player in the 15? So I'll start there, I guess. So the first player, quarterback rating of Madden 24, the top number one player is Patrick Mahomes. of the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's a 99. He's one of there's only been a handful of 99 players come out so far. And then you have the second one is Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals at 95. And then you have Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills at 94. This little thing that I got, this little list I'm looking at says Bengals for those two quarterbacks. But Josh Allen plays for the Bills, so he's a 94. Lamar Jackson is a Baltimore Ravens is 91. Jalen Hurts, Philadelphia Eagles is an 88. Dak Prescott, Dallas Cowboys is an 87. Justin Herbert for the Los Angeles Chargers is an 87. Aaron Rodgers for the New York Jets is an 86. Kirk Cousins for the Minnesota Vikings is an 84. Tua Tagovailoa for the Miami Dolphins is an 83. Trevor Lawrence for the Jacksonville Jaguars is an 82. Geno Smith for the Seahawks is an 81. I mean, where's Derek Carr? Is Derek Carr not considered better than Geno Smith and Aaron Rodgers, Dak Prescott? Some of these guys, like, where's Derek Carr? So we'll continue here and continue with another one. So Jared Goff, the Detroit Lions is at 80. Kyler Murray, Arizona Cardinals is at 79, and he just sneaked his way into the top 15. We got Derek Carr of the New Orleans Saints at 78, number 15 on this list of quarterbacks, and we'll go over the other quarterbacks. So we got Derek Carr at this lowly 78 ranking, can't even get him into the 80s, and then we have Jameis Winston at 70. Taysom Hill, they have him on this game. They still have him listed as a quarterback. They don't have him listed as a striker or a player, a utility player or anything like that. That's not really a position yet. I imagine one day in the NFL it will be. And then we got Jake Haener, the rookie, all the way down here at 63. Okay, the first thing I want to mention is I'm okay with Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens, obviously being higher and better rated than Derek Carr. But the fact that he's rated at 91 and he hardly even played last year seems a little bit much. Like I would think, like I understand how great Lamar Jackson is, but he's only played in like 12 games each of the last two seasons. So he's only played in that'd be 24 games in the last two seasons, and didn't play in those seasons where they made the playoffs, didn't play in the playoffs either. So I would look at Lamar Jackson more down here at like the 87, 90 mark. But they have him as the fourth best quarterback on this list. And then kind of the rankings that kind of, I guess it's a good rating for Aaron Rodgers for the Jets at 86. I guess that's pretty good, even though he didn't have the greatest year either. But where I start getting a little upset here is you got Geno Smith, a one-hit wonder, a one-year wonder. Like last year is the first time he ever put up any respectable numbers as a quarterback, as a starting quarterback. And then you have Jared Goff, which I would almost look at Jared Goff and Derek Carr almost as one and the same. You know, I'll admit Jared Goff's had some really good seasons where he's put up 4,000 yards and 30 plus touchdowns. You know, so you could argue some of Jared Goff's best seasons were better than some of Derek Carr's best seasons. But then you got Kyler Murray, who's got hurt last year. He's a 79, and he missed a good portion of the year, and you really have him over Derek Carr. Like I would be happy if you swap those three with Derek. You put Derek Carr as, I guess that would make him at 18 at the Geno Smith spot at 18, and not even. And they got Geno Smith on here as an 80. I'd be perfectly fine with Derek Carr when you like compare and contrast this list. You know, I originally, just seeing where he's ranked in general for Derek Carr, I would originally, if I just saw his, if I was just when I originally just looked at the Saints rankings of quarterback, just their rankings, I was thinking like, man, he should be like an 85 at least, you know. But then I'm seeing these other quarterbacks that, you know, arguably I would say are better than Derek Carr at like, you know, you got Aaron Rodgers as an 86 and Justin Herbert as an 87. But then, I mean, you got Tua Tagovailoa as an 82 and uh, 83, and Trevor Lawrence as an 82. So it's kind of a there's kind of a weird spot in there. There isn't a quarterback rated as an 85. So I would respectfully take um, take Derek Carr at 12 at the 12 spot, not the 18 spot, but the 12 spot with an 80. So, but yeah, that's where the Saints ratings are at quarterback. Nothing too exciting, nothing blow you away there. All right, let's see. So now on to running back ratings. Let's see if I can find the Saints. Yeah, there's the Saints. So I guess once again we'll start at the top here and see where I'm guessing it's Alvin Kamara. That's going to be the highest rated Saints running back. Let's see if he ends up on this list of top 15. So we have first at the number one spot, it's Nick Chubb with 97 of the Cleveland Browns at 97. So there's no 98, 99 running back yet. And then you have Christian McCaffrey for the San Francisco 49ers at 86. Josh Jacobs for the Las Vegas Raiders at 85. And that one surprised me a little bit because he's I'm pretty sure he led the league in maybe scrimmage yards and rushing yards last year with like almost 1,700 rushing yards. So I figured the quote unquote, you know, stats wise, Pro Bowl wise, would be the top running back, but he's on this list at the number three spot. Then you got Derrick Henry, the Tennessee Titans at 94, Jaquan Barkley, New York Giants at 93, Dalvin Cook, who's a free agent. So that's almost. I know he was good last year. He had like 1,200, 1,300 rushing yards last year, but he's not even on a team, you know. So it's a little hard for me to want to have him rated all the way at a 91 when no team even wants to pay him. You know, they had that little talk about how there's no worth of running backs and the running back position is dying and there's no respect for running backs anymore. So it's like, obviously no one thinks he's good enough. There's a lot of teams out there that must not think he's a 91 or he'd be on a team right now. And then you have another player was asking for a trade and wanting their contract extended, and Austin Eckler of the Los Angeles Chargers at 89. Jonathan Taylor of the Indianapolis Colts is an 89. He hardly even played really last year. He got hurt and didn't have 1,800 yards rushing like he did his rookie season. And then you have Tony Pollard of the Dallas Cowboys at 88. And I mean, once again, another player. He's coming off of trying to think if he broke his leg or tore his ACL. So he's coming off a season-ending injury. You have Aaron Jones of the Green Bay Packers at 88. Joe Mixon of the Cincinnati Bengals at an 87. Kenneth Walker the third of the Seattle Seahawks at 87. And then we got our boy Alvin Kamara of the New Orleans Saints all the way down here at 86. So he is the 13th player on this list. And then we have Miles Sanders, the Carolina Panthers at 86, and Cordell Patterson of the Atlanta Falcons at 85. So I actually have him Cordell Patterson legitimately listed as a running back instead of he's a striker type of player, similar to Taysom Hill, but instead of having him listed as obviously a quarterback or tight end or something, they have him listed as a running back, even though I've seen him listed as just like a return specialist wide receiver before. But we've played him. We know how the last couple of years he's been the best offensive weapon for the Atlanta Falcons. But all right, let's see what how the total Saints rosters players they kind of build up to this list here. So obviously we have Alvin Kamara as an 86, but then not really that far underneath him, which surprises me a little bit. This is the first little bit of respect that I felt from these Madden rankings. Is Jamal Williams is right there underneath him at 85, so I can respect that. I think that's a good rating for Jamal Williams. You know, hell, the man had 17 touchdowns last year and 1,000 yards rushing. And then you got Eno Benjamin, who's at a 71, which that seems pretty high, but maybe the people that made this list remembers the game against the Saints in Arizona where he had 100 yards rushing. So maybe they know that at least associated with the Saints, he's pretty good. Then you got Kendra Miller. I understand he's a third round pick here at 69, and Adam Prentice is just a fullback at 62. Nothing to get your feathers too ruffled over, but just looking the main ones on this list that bother me, I just don't see like a clear cut number one. So that they got Nick Chubb at 97, the clear cut number one. It's just I've never understood what the big hubbub is about Nick Chubb. I've never thought he was like amazing, I guess. But I'll also admit, as a New Orleans Saints fan and a fan of an NFC team, I'll admit I don't see in just Cleveland in general. I don't see a lot of Cleveland Brown games, so I can admit that. And then you got Christian McCaffrey, who had a bounce back, comeback year last year. But it's these ones that got me, that would make me want to put, Alvin Kamara up in that 88 spot, around the 88, 89 spot, it's because it would be Jonathan Taylor, who was injured a lot of last year, who's an 89. So I could see moving him down around the Alvin Kamara spot. Or Tony Pollard. I know Tony Pollard had a great season. He was amazing all through the season, and then even to the playoff game until he broke his leg or tore his ACL. But I mean, you got to realize the guy that's coming off of an injury like that's not going to come back and be as good as they were the previous year. So I'm not too up in arms over the Alvin Kamara rating, but I definitely think he could have been up a couple spots. I'm liking him in that spot, that area where Tony Pollard and Jonathan Taylor are, around that 88, 89 area. But I like the rating, because that would have went a lot better than having Jamal Williams just like one overall underneath Alvin Kamara, and Alvin Kamara's been like a perennial Pro Bowler, so you would have thought that people were given a little more respect for Alvin Kamara. But I'll admit, Alvin Kamara did have like his worst year last year. So, maybe these Madden ranking analysts are maybe paying attention. So, but yeah, I respect that rating for Jamal Williams. All right. So on to wide receivers now. See my wide receiver list here. Okay. So I don't have, let's see here. This right here is just the top 10 here for the wide receivers. I don't have the top 15. I probably get into where it's a lot of players having like the same ratings. Like there's probably like 6 players that are, like an 86, 87. So it stops at 10. So at number 1 on the wide receivers list, we have Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings at 99. And I respect that. That's respectable. Clearly the best wide receiver in the league last year. And I guess you could argue that a little bit with Tyreek Hill before Tua Tagovailoa got hurt. So they got Tyreek Hill at number 2 for the Miami Dolphins at a 98. And then they have Devontae Adams of the Las Vegas Raiders at a 97. Stephon Diggs of the Buffalo Bills at a 96. Cooper Cup of the Los Angeles Rams at a 96 as well. But I mean, dude tore his ACL for the second or third time in his career. I find it hard to believe he's going to come back and attempt to break Michael Thomas's catch record again. Had an extra game to do it, still couldn't do it. But yeah, I find that hard to believe he's going to come back and be better than Jamar Chase, the next receiver after him, who is a Cincinnati Bengal at 94. And then same story a little bit that I've kind of gone over with a lot of these players. DeAndre Hopkins, the next player for the Titans, he was a 93. Like he played pretty good, in minimal games last year. I think he was suspended for like 6 games, so he only played in like 11 games. He still had like a 700 yards receiving or something, but still, a player that didn't play all last year and is in his 30s now. I don't like that rating that much. And then you have Terry McLaurin of the Washington Commanders at a 92. Hopefully, Dan Snyder sold the team, so hopefully they'll change that stupid name here soon. Honestly, I would be okay with them going back to the Washington football team name. I thought, honestly, towards the end of when they were talking about changing it, I actually like that name. I think it's classy. Personally. And then at 9, we have A.J. Brown of the Philadelphia Eagles at a 91. And then you have Amari Cooper of the Cleveland Browns as a 91 as well. So Chris Olave, he didn't make it into the top 10, but neither did Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson didn't make it in the top 10, and Jamison Williams didn't make it in the top 10. Drake London didn't make it in the top 10. So at least it's consistent. That these rookies, and guys that were drafted in the same draft class as him and had similar production. None of them were rated like head and shoulders above him. But here's the Saints wide receiver rankings. Talking about Chris Olave here, hadn't even given you his rating yet. But Chris Olave, he's quite a bit lower than a 91. He's at 84. And then you have Michael Thomas as an 84. Traquan Smith as a 75. Rashid Shaheed as a 74. Brian Edwards as a 72. James Washington, 72. Kiki Cutie at 71. A.T. Perry at a 68. Keith Kirkwood at a 66. Juan Baker as a 62. And Kirk Merritt as a 61. So I'm, for the most part, I'm pretty good with these ratings, The only thing that I would have maybe bumped up a little bit, I think I know it's just a small little margin, but I would have liked to have seen Alvin Kamara, or not, Chris Olave bumped up, just a little bit, maybe an 85, 86. And then, I got to respect the ratings analyst, I mean, he's played just a handful of games over the last 3 years, on and off with the toe and the ankle injury. And man, they still showing some mad respect to Michael Thomas. So I would have put Michael Thomas at, I guess, leave him at that 84. I could see him bump down like farther to an 80 or something, or a 79. But then you get a little ridiculous here. After that, you get a little ridiculous, and you have Traquan Smith at a 75 and Rashid Shaheed at a 74. Like, in what world and what universe do you have Traquan Smith rated higher than Rashid Shaheed? So I would flip that. I'm okay with the Traquan Smith rating at 75, but I just feel the Rashid Shaheed rating's a little low. So I don't really have much argument or to change with it. The only thing I would change would maybe bump Chris Olave up to an 85 and give Rashid Shaheed an 80 or a 79. I know how these ratings go, where if they have too many players that are in the 80s or in the 90s at one position, it really messes with the whole team's overall. And I think the Saints are an 84 overall, so they're just kind of like a middle of the pack team on Madden 24. So if you could move Chris Olave to an 85, leave Michael Thomas at his 84, and then move Rashid Shaheed up to a 79, and Traquan Smith, leave him at a 75. That would be perfect. And that, honestly, for the game, it's from 1 to 99. That's pretty good receiving core. It struggles a little bit with how it is, but it's not horrible, I guess. All right. Now on to tight end rankings, and I think I might have a top 15 here. Let's see here. Yeah, so I have a top 15 in tight ends. I don't know why they didn't have a top 15 in wide receivers, but these are good lists. All I really need is the top 10 anyways. So the number one tight end on this list, it should be really to no one's surprise, is Travis Kelce of the Kansas City Chiefs at 99. And then number two is George Kittle of the San Francisco 49ers at 96. Mark Andrews of the Baltimore Ravens at a 95. TJ Hawkinson of the Minnesota Vikings at a 90. Dallas Goedert of the Philadelphia Eagles at an 89. Kyle Pitts of the Atlanta Falcons at 87. Darren Waller of the New York Giants as an 86. Pat Freiermuth of the Pittsburgh Steelers at 85. David Njoku of the Cleveland Browns at 84. Evan Ingram of the Jacksonville Jaguars at 84. Dawson Knox of the Buffalo Bills at 83. Zach Ertz of the Arizona Cardinals at 83. Gerald Everett of the Los Angeles Chargers at 82. Dalton Schultz, who's a rookie. Pretty sure Dalton Schultz is a rookie. Or maybe Dalton Schultz. He came from the Cowboys, I think. Schultz. No, he's not a rookie. He was with the Dallas Cowboys last year. So Dalton Schultz of the Houston Texans at 82. And number 15 is Mike Gesicki of the New England Patriots at 81. So Juwan Johnson and Foster Moreau, neither one of them made it on this list. But let's look at where they're at on here. So I think it's a little disrespectful, a little low for both of these players. So Foster Monroe or Juwan Johnson is the top rated Saints tight end at just a 75. Seems like for a lot of like the starters or top position, 80 is kind of the magic number, but no, not even close really to an 80. And you got Foster Moreau at 74, which I could understand him not being rated as high as Juwan Johnson, but honestly, he's not far off from being as good of a player. So they think the Madden ranking analysts think the same thing. That's why they have him one overall rated lower, but just totally, I think they're underrated. And then we have Jesse James at a 65 and Miller Forstall at 58. So, but looking back over this list, some of the players I think probably had like similar numbers to Juwan Johnson last year. Like I never heard a lot about like Gerald Everett, who's an 82 of the Chargers, and be honest, I think all these players maybe had more yards than Juwan Johnson, but probably not even by much, maybe just like 100 yards. But he had like 8 touchdowns. He was like top 5 in touchdowns scored. So I don't really know out of these players that are in the top 15 who I would replace him with. So it's got a little bit of a stronger argument, but at the top 15, it's an 81, so there has to be an 80 or a 79 there, which I would think that would probably be a more respectable rating for Juwan Johnson or Foster Monroe. I could see like I could see Juwan Johnson at like an 80 and Foster Monroe at like a 78 would be I think would be a little better. Got got D line and edge defender kind of broken up a little bit. So go for this is D line first, but these are kind of together, I guess, a little bit. I don't have it broken up to D line to edge rusher. So do their defensive tackles and stuff. Yes, this is D line. So D line rankings, the number one player on the D line rankings is Aaron Donald at a 99 for the Los Angeles Rams. Chris Jones of the Kansas City Chiefs at a 96. Dexter Lawrence of the New York Giants at a 94. Quentin Williams of the New York Jets at a 93. See, these are all defensive tackles for the most part. Cameron Hayward of the Pittsburgh Steelers at a 93. Jonathan Allen of the Washington Commanders at a 92. Jeffrey Simmons of the Tennessee Titans at an 89. Vita Vea of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 88. DJ Reader of the Cincinnati Bengals at 87. Christian Wilkins of the Miami Dolphins at 86. Grady Jarrett of the Atlanta Falcons at 86. Kenny Clark of the Green Bay Packers, 86. DeForest Buckner of the Indianapolis Colts at 86. Darius Smith of the Cleveland Browns in 85, and Calais Campbell of the Atlanta Falcons in 85. So there is no Saints on that list there of the top 15, but see if I can kind of pick out the Saints D linemen from this list that aren't considered edge players. So on the D line, I guess these players would be in the same grouping, I assume, because they're defensive tackles and not defensive ends or outside pass rushing linebackers. So just the first one up is this would be, I guess they assume these are going to be your 2 starting defensive tackles. You have Nathan Shepard at a 72, Brian Breesy at a 71, Colin Sanders at a 70, Jabir Zinga at a 69, Tano Passanio at a 69, Malcolm Roach at a 67, and Jack Hefline as a 64. And I can't really argue too much about this because I mean I haven't seen a lot of Nathan Shepard play. I've seen like his numbers and stuff. Same with Colin Sanders. I've seen his numbers and stuff. I've seen him do the backflips and stuff for Shepard with the Jets and Colin Sanders with the Chiefs. But I can't really say like, oh, he should be a 75 or he should be an 80. I mean, obviously they were pretty easy additions in free agency to sign. I mean, the Jets and the Chiefs weren't too quick. They didn't make that a priority to re-sign either one of those guys. So seeing them in the 70s here is, if you're playing Madden, and you're playing online or you're playing all Madden, You play with the Saints, man, you're going to have a hard time stopping the run, is all I can say from looking at this list. But I can't argue too much with the defensive line ratings, the top 15 there, and obviously Aaron Donald at 99. Honestly, I'd have probably put Chris Jones of the Kansas City Chiefs above him, and it's surprising he's so much lower than him. Not a lot lower, but that's three points, three points overall from a 99 to a 96. Even though I think Chris Jones is better now at this point in his career, he's younger and bigger and just better. All right, so now that's where it got a little confusing with what's an edge rusher and what's just considered a defensive lineman. So we'll start with edge, this term that they're using, not defensive end or defensive tackle. It's just an edge, which mostly are defensive ends or pass rushing outside linebackers. So at number 1, they have Nick Bosa of the San Francisco 49ers as a 98. Myles Garrett of the Cleveland Browns at a 98. Micah Parsons of the Dallas Cowboys at a 97. TJ Watt of the Pittsburgh Steelers at a 94. Von Miller of the Buffalo Bills at 94. Max Crosby of the Las Vegas Raiders at 94. Joey Bosa of the Los Angeles Chargers at 91. Hassan Reddick of the Philadelphia Eagles at a 90. DeMarcus Lawrence of the Dallas Cowboys at 90. Matt Judon of the New England Patriots at 89. Rashawn Gary of the Green Bay Packers at 88. Brian Burns of the Carolina Panthers at 87. Trey Hendricks of the Cincinnati Bengals at 87. Cameron Jordan, here's Cameron Jordan all the way down here at the 14 spot of the New Orleans Saints at 87. And Darnell Hunter of the Minnesota Vikings at an 87. So, you can't really argue too much about this list. The only player, I think maybe it's just because he's a Dallas Cowboy. DeMarcus Lawrence is ranked at a 90 because he's up there at 90, a couple spots ahead, about 5 spots ahead of Cameron Jordan, even though I think they're very similar players. I don't think either one of them had a ton of sacks last year. And I don't think Marcus Lawrence has had double-digit sacks since he signed his big contract extension, and he's more known for more just being able to stop the run, kind of similar to Cam Jordan at this point in his career. So you got him all the way at a 90, but I can't really argue too much with these younger, more explosive, talented players and Rashawn Gary, Brian Burns, and former Saint Trey Hendrickson. So I couldn't about that. That's about the only one I could really move down would be DeMarcus Lawrence, just because I would say they're very similar players, Cameron Jordan and DeMarcus Lawrence. And then you got Darnell Hunter, and honestly, Darnell Hunter is as good as any of these players when he's healthy and playing all 17 games for Minnesota. So to have him tied with Trey Hendrickson, Cam Jordan is, okay, kind of a little bit interesting. See if we can go over the edges, Saints edges, total edge players. So we got Cam Jordan at the 87 spot, which we just went over. Isaiah Foskey, the rookie, at 71. Peyton Turner, the third-year pro, at a 71. So those are, I guess, I mentioned Tano Passanio. Tano Passanio could have maybe been an edge or a defense tackle, but just this list I got clear cut. We have Cam Jordan at 87, Isaiah Foskey 71, and Peyton Turner 71. And other than what I had to say about Cam Jordan and DeMarcus Lawrence, I can't really argue too much with Isaiah Foskey and Peyton Turner. I mean, kind of be happy that they're rated as high as they are. Isaiah Foskey being a second-round pick, and he was at 71, and then Brian Breesy, who is a defensive lineman, but was the first-round pick of the Saints. He's a 71 as well, and then Peyton Turner. We all know Peyton Turner. He's had some flash in the pans here and there, but really hasn't done much of anything. Hadn't really played enough to do anything, and he's respectfully, I guess you could say, is at a 71 as well. But similar to the Saints and their D line, if they're going to be dealt, and this is just like in real life almost, if when playing Madden, like online Madden or all Madden difficulty, if they're double teaming Cam Jordan, your team in defense, and you're just rushing four, you're not going to get any pressure on the quarterback the entire game. So that's a very the Saints D line is not the best in the world, not the best that it's been in years past. And then for some reason I couldn't find a clear-cut list of linebackers, but we all know that one of these linebackers is on this list. One of the Saints linebackers is in the top 15. So we'll just go through that list real quick. And I don't have the rankings for what DeMarco Jackson and Pete Warner are. I don't have those lists, but I imagine, if you were to guess where Pete Warner was, I'd say he's like a 79, 80 or something. And then, DeMarco Jackson and Nick Anderson, some of those guys are probably like in the 50s or something. So, but this is just a standard rating because they didn't have a rating system on Madden for just linebackers. It went from edge, which edge is a linebacker, to just middle linebacker, but it didn't have outside linebackers or anything like that. So that's why it was kind of hard to find a list of the Saints linebacker rankings. But anyways, so Madden 24 middle linebacker ranking. So at the top spot, you have Fred Warner of the San Francisco 49ers at 96. And then you got Roquan Smith of the Baltimore Ravens at 92. And then you have Levante David of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 91. And then right here, this right here is the 4 spot. You got Demario Davis of the New Orleans Saints at 90. Then you got Bobby Wagner, future Hall of Famer Bobby Wagner of the Seattle Seahawks at 89. Matt Milano of the Buffalo Bills in 88. Nick Bolton of the Kansas City Chiefs in 87. Tremaine Edmonds of the Chicago Bears in 87. Dre Greenlaw of the San Francisco 49ers in 86. Shaquille Leonard of the Indianapolis Colts in 86. Devondre Campbell of the Green Bay Packers, 85. C.J. Mosley of the New York Jets at 85. Eric Kendricks of the Los Angeles Chargers at 85. Shaq Thomas of the Carolina Panthers, 84. And Logan Wilson of the Cincinnati Bengals at an 84. And like I said, I don't have the full list of linebackers, but if you're just talking middle linebackers, and you got Demario Davis at 90 at the 4 spot, I don't have much argument over that. Fred Warner kind of clear cut, and Roquan Smith kind of clear cut, but I could do maybe a little flip flopping here between him and Levante David. Both of them are about the same age and have like the same production, or you could even leave Mario Davis here in the 4 spot, but just inch him up. He could still be a 91 and still be behind Levante David. So I with straight middle linebackers, I don't have any argument there really. Let's see. We don't have too many lists to go over. Just three more positions here. I was just thinking the show's running kind of long. I didn't know if I needed to break it into 2 shows, but I think I can fit this in here this last bit. So So the next ratings up is Madden 24 cornerback ratings, and then this is the one right here that may get people a little feisty, a little heated. I'm sure people and fans have already talked quite a bit about where some of the Saints corners are rated. So we'll start it right out here with number one. We have Jalen Ramsey of the Miami Dolphins at 97, and then Ja'Rari Alexander of the Green Bay Packers at 95. Patrick Surtain, the second of the Denver Broncos at 94. Sauce Gardner of the New York Jets at 93. I mean, where's Marshawn Lattimore at? Where is he at? Marlon Humphrey of the Baltimore Ravens at 93. Darius Slay Jr. of the Philadelphia Eagles at 92. Stephon Gilmore of the Dallas Cowboys at 91. I mean, we're 91. Where's Marshawn Lattimore? Oh, here he is. He's here, all the way down here. Let's see, at the eighth spot, the eighth corner on this list. Like, oh my, like, come on, man. You got Marshawn Lattimore all the way down here for the New Orleans Saints at. He's down here far away, but he's still a 90, even though he's down here at, what did I say, the eighth spot? Yeah, the eighth spot. So he's still in the 90s at least. I mean, geez, having him ranked down that far. And then you have Tre'Davious White, Buffalo Bills. He's a 90. Denzel Ward of the Cleveland Browns an 88. A.J. Terrell Jr. of the Atlanta Falcons an 87. Tre'Davious Ward of the San Francisco 49ers an 87. Kendall Fuller of the Washington Commanders an 87. Trayvon Diggs of the Dallas Cowboys an 87. And Chidobe Awuzie of the Cincinnati Bengals an 85. So, yeah, I mean, just how far they have him down on this list is what I'm not a huge fan of. But let's just finish our talking about Marshawn Lattimore and where he is on this list. I'm sorry, but I don't think so. You have Stephon Gilmore right above him, which I understand. Stephon Gilmore, when he was with the Patriots, he was like a defensive player of the year, but that was years ago. You know, he's what, 32, 33 years old and on to his second team since the New England Patriots. I think he played for the Colts last year, and now he's with the Dallas Cowboys, and they got him above Marshawn Lattimore, which I just don't agree with that. And I find that a little surprising, honestly, that Stephon Gilmore is the higher rated corner of the two Dallas Cowboys defensive backs. So, you know, you got him at 91 up here, and then you have all the way down at 14, you got Trevon Diggs at an 87. I'm honestly surprised Trayvon Diggs, you know, if you're both going to have both of them on here, I'm surprised you don't have Trayvon Diggs as the higher rated corner, you know, seeing how he's probably got like a 90 catch rating because of all the interceptions he gets. He may not be quite as good in the tackling area and the coverage and man zone area ratings, but just his ball hawking skills in general, you would think that would put him higher up on this list. And then just so you got Stephon Gilmore. I know I'm just not even getting very far at the seventh spot, but I wanted to talk about Tre'Davious White. Before Tre'Davious White ruptured his Achilles or tore his ACL or whatever injury he had, I honestly was starting to think like he was the best corner in the league. But, you know, he came back last year and was pretty decent. But, you know, he's tied with Marshawn Lattimore. He's down here at the 9th spot as a 90 as well. I just wanted to mention that about Tre'Davious White, the ex LSU Tiger. But then just going on these other players that are on this list, you got Ja'Rari Alexander at the 2 spot. I've never thought that Ja'Rari Alexander was better than Marshawn Lattimore. I don't know where the love and the infatuation comes for Ja'Rari Alexander at an 85. Like, I'm okay with the 90 rating of Marshawn Lattimore, but just some of these players that are rated above him. I just there's some kind of love fest for Jari Alexander. I think it's because he played for the Green Bay Packers and he talks a lot. Marshawn Lattimore doesn't really do a lot of that. And then, it's just kind of been cut and dry, rinse and repeat with having Jalen Ramsey at 97 as the top corner for the Dolphins. And if Xavier Howard or whatever, the other corner for the Miami Dolphins, if he's healthy and playing up to his standard, I mean, Howard X could be better than Jalen Ramsey. And Jalen Ramsey hasn't been like his dominant self that he was like maybe like 2 years ago. Like he wasn't not like he was phenomenal in the Super Bowl season. He really wasn't like amazing last year either. So, and then just with the last one, my last little gripe here of players, I think that I think Marshawn Lattimore could have been rated above, and that's down here at the 5 spot. Marlon Humphrey of the Baltimore Ravens at a 93. I just don't see where he would be rated above Marshawn Lattimore. Just like if I wouldn't even want to raise Marshawn Lattimore's rating really that much. Maybe to a 92 or a 93 if I'm going to put him ahead of some of these players. And I'd be wanting to put him ahead of at least 3 players. I'd want to move him up at least to the 5 or the 6 spot. But hadn't even gone over the Saints' entire list of corners. This is where people will probably get upset. So this is the Saints corners ratings. So we got Marshawn Lattimore at the 90, and then who do most Saints fans guess, or who would they have probably expected to be the number 2 corner rated on the Saints roster? I'm sure most people think it's Alontae Taylor. A lot of people have a love fest for Alontae Taylor, even though I'm a little pessimistic, kind of on that wait and see type of how I'm acting towards this is gonna react to this, and how I'm looking to see how it's gonna go. I kind of want to just wait and see a little bit because I'm thinking everyone probably thought Alontae Taylor was going to be at the 2 spot, but it's actually Bradley Roby with the 74. And what I'm trying to get at with Alontae Taylor is, everyone during the offseason last year talked about how Paulson Adebo looked amazing, and then he had like an ankle injury or hamstring injury or something right before the season starts. And then next thing you know, hell, he's after each Saints camp, he's heated debate for like the worst player in the secondary, And I feel there's a hype train behind Alontae Taylor, and I thought Paulson Adebo, if I was to match up season to season, Paulson Adebo's 2021 season and Alontae Taylor's 2022 season, I honestly thought Paulson Adebo was better, had more pass deflections, had 3 interceptions, and Alontae Taylor didn't have any, So I mean, there's definitely a case for possibly a sophomore slump for Alontae Taylor, and who knows, Paulson Adebo could have a comeback season, jump back and be right as good as he was his rookie season possibly. So you got Alontae Taylor at the 3 spot, 73, and then you have Paulson Adebo right there with him at 73, and you got Isaac Yadom at 71, Hugo Amade at 70, and Troy Pride Jr. At 69. So, I mean, I would probably kind of leave this list alone. The only thing I would just want to make one of these corners like a 79 or an 80, whether it's Paulson Adebo or Alontae Taylor. I think most fans would probably want Paulson Adebo to be the 79 or the 80, which I'm okay with that. You do that, and then maybe bring Bradley Roby up just one for 75 being your slot corner, which I think that'd be pretty good. But the number two, number three corner are ranked pretty low for the Saints, but at least you got the one shutdown corner in Marshawn Lattimore, even though he's ranked as only the eighth best on here. So he's not top corner on this list. Two more positions here. We got safety and offensive line. So let's see what we're looking at here with the Madden 24 safety ratings. So at number one, you have Derwin James of the Los Angeles Chargers at 94, at a 94. And then you got Manika Fitzpatrick of the Pittsburgh Steelers as a 93. Justin Simmons of the Denver Broncos as a 92. Kevin Byard of the Tennessee Titans as a 92. Jesse Bates III of the Atlanta Falcons, a 91. And then you got, here you go, you got Tyrann Mathieu of the New Orleans Saints at a 91. So that would put him at the sixth spot. And I'll just go through the rest of these before I go on. Before I go on. So you got Buda Baker of the Arizona Cardinals at a 90. Jordan Poyer of the Buffalo Bills at 90. Harrison Smith of the Minnesota Vikings at 90. Micah Hyde of the Buffalo Bills at 89. Marcus Williams of the Baltimore Ravens, former New Orleans Saints, all the way down here at an 88. I think that has to do with him. He missed quite a few games last year. I think he only played in like 10 or 11 games. But in those 10 or 11 games, I still think he had like 3 interceptions or something. Saints could have used some of that last year. And then you got Jamal Adams, the Seattle Seahawks at 88. And then you got Quandre Diggs of the Seattle Seahawks at 87. So they got a good pair of safeties in Seattle, apparently. And you got Jimmy Ward of the Houston Texans at 87, and Antonio Winfield Jr. of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at an 87. So I can't argue with this at all. I really don't have much to say. I think that's pretty respectful. I can't at this point in his career and his age for Tyrann Mathieu, I couldn't put him above. And his size, that was kind of the thing that seemed to be started to be kind of glaringly noticeable at the beginning of the season for Tyrann Mathieu. It looked like his size he was having issues like tackling and issues with that, he seemed to kind of sometimes when making tackles, he seemed like he was making some career decisions and sometimes not making when he wasn't making career decisions, he was still getting ran over because he's small. I think a lot of times people forget Tyrann Mathieu is only like 100, 180, 185 pounds, like 5'9". Like he's a small dude. He's a small safety. So I can't argue with that. I can't argue with this list at all, really. The only ones that I kind of hate is Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde, the safeties for the Buffalo Bills, being rated as high as they are. I think both of them were like hurt last year, and both of them are in their 30s, and for some reason, people still think that they should be rated so high. And I don't even know how amazing their secondary was last year with both of those guys being both their safeties rated close up here in the 90s. Micah Hyde at 89, and then you got a corner in Tre'Davious White, who's a 90, and I don't recall their secondary being really that amazing last year. It wasn't any better than the Saints. And let's see, so all the totals for Saints safeties, and I think this may be the only position that the analysts and Madden rankers got like completely right. So you got so the Saints safety ratings, you got Tyrann Mathieu at a 91, Marcus May at an 83, Jonathan Abrams a 71, Lonnie Johnson Jr. a 69, Jordan Howden a 68, Smoke Monday a 64, and JT Gray a 63. And with the total rankings there for the Saints, I can't argue with them really at all. The only one that I'd maybe change is maybe JT Gray. I don't know, maybe bringing him up to 75, and not because of his safety play, but because he's been a Pro Bowler as a gunner and a special teamer, So, I mean, he has football IQ, he has good tackling ability. I mean, obviously, you have to be a Pro Bowl special teamer, and he's played some spot safety as well. But I can't argue with Marcus May being 83 because he didn't play. Uh, he missed a little portion of the season last year, and even when he played, it wasn't like he was amazing or anything. He didn't make any plays like interceptions, or didn't have a lot of pass deflections or anything like that. I think he had one like forced fumble and a fumble recovery, and he showed that he was good in the run. He was good in run defense, but nothing else really to put him up higher, like putting him at an 85 or anything like that. And then, Jonathan Abrams is just a player coming from another team for veteran minimum. Same thing with Lonnie Johnson. So them being a 71, 69, it's just, but yeah, that may be the only position and ranking that I think in I guess category and position for the Saints that was, I would say, was pretty much right on cue, 100% right. No arguments there. And last but not least, the most exciting position is the Madden 24 O-line ratings, and this accounts for left tackles, left guards, centers, right guards, left tackle. So it's not broken up into positions here. It's just the best O linemen in general. So let's see here. So at the number one spot, we have Zach Martin for the Dallas Cowboys. He's a right guard at a 99, and he's trying to threatening to hold out for a new contract right now. So Madden thinks he's the best offensive lineman in the league. Do you, Cowboys? Do you want to open your checkbook and pay him to be one? Guess we'll have to wait and see. Then at the 2 spot, you have Lane Johnson for the Philadelphia Eagles, a right tackle at 98. And then you got Trent Williams of the San Francisco 49ers, a left tackle at a 98. And you got Laramie Tunsil of the Houston Texans, a left tackle, 95. And then you got Chris Lindstrom of the Atlanta Falcons, right guard at 93. And you have Andrew Thomas of the New York Giants, a left tackle, a 92. And you have Jason Kelsey of the Philadelphia Eagles, a center, a 92. And Joel Bettino of the Cleveland Browns, left guards, 92. Quentin Nelson of the Indianapolis Colts, left guard, 92. Tristan Wirfs of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, left tackle, 92. And I'm not so sure Tristan Wirfs plays left tackle unless he played it last year, but I'm pretty sure Tristan Wirfs is actually a right tackle. For some reason, Madden has him on here as a left tackle, unless he's playing left tackle this year. And then you got former Saint Teron Armstead, Miami Dolphins, left tackle at 91. And you got Creed Humphrey of the Kansas City Chiefs, center at 90, and David Bakhtiari of the Packers, left tackle at a 90. And that's where I come in and have to argue, because he's like the Michael Thomas version of left tackles, offensive lineman, basically. Like, he has hardly played at all the last 2 seasons, but for some reason he's still rated up here as a 90 rated left tackle. And then same story with Ronnie Stanley here of the Baltimore Ravens, left tackle, 90. He's similar, hardly played really the last years. I think he missed like all of 2021 and then maybe played in like 12 games or something in 2022. And they have him ranked as a 90. And then you got Joe Tooney of the Kansas City Chiefs all the way down here at 15 as a left guard at an 89. And honestly, I didn't have nothing really to say about this list until I got to what 13 and 14 with David Bakhtiari and Ronnie Stanley. And so I'll go over the Saints offensive linemen real quick. So the offensive line ratings for the Saints, you got Ryan Ramczyk at an 89. So I would put him just like right out of the gate. I would put him above David Bakhtiari and Ronnie Stanley. I know we're doing load management like every week it seems with Ryan Ramczyk with him not practicing all week due to his knee, but he doesn't miss games at least. He's not missing games like David Bakhtiari and Ronnie Stanley are. So I would bump him up. I'd bump both of those guys down, and I guess that'd be knocking Tooney out, I guess, at 15, but I'd bump those two guys down, and that would put so 15, 14, 30, that would put Ryan Ramczyk at the 13th spot and have him as a 90 as a right tackle. And then you got continue on with Saints offensive lineman. You got Eric McCoy at a 79, Cesar Ruiz a 75, Andres Pete a 73, James Hurst a 73, Trevor Penning a 73, Nick Salvadori a 67, Calvin Throckmorton a 65, Mark Evans II a 61, Storm Norton 59, Alex Vilstrom a 58, Landon Young a 58, Nazir Durant 58, and Lewis Kidd 57. So I mean, you heard what I had to say about Ryan Ramczyk and the left tackles that I think he should supplant. But then when you get onto the interior here, it's hard to argue these ratings that much because the players that are in those spots have been injured, the last couple of years. Eric McCoy always dealing with that calf strain the last 2 years, so him being a 79 is pretty respectful, honestly. I think I'd be a little happier if he was bumped up to an 80, but I understand the rating. And then you have Cesar Ruiz, who his first 2 seasons was not a very good player, and then he was respectable to good last year. But then he has the foot injury at the end of the season, so it's hard to want to have Cesar Ruiz higher than a 75. Honestly, I mean you want that, but I mean it's not really realistic. And then Andres Pete, he's basically the same story as Cesar Ruiz and Eric McCoy with just the injuries. Never healthy, When he's played, he's been good, and then he's had some flubs as well, but never healthy. And if he was younger, I would probably want him ranked higher, but because he's older now and with the injuries being an issue, I don't see that getting any better. But then you got James Hurst. This is, I guess, kind of the only one I could argue because these are your 3 starters, your 5 starters. I mean, so it's James Hurst is going to be your left tackle, I guess, or it's going to be Trevor Penning. So both of those guys are at a 73. I would probably just want one of those guys bumped up to 75. But other than that, you can't really argue it too much. You'd want to have maybe what? You want 75s on 3/5 of the offensive line, I guess. And then would like Eric McCoy at an 80 and bump Ryan Ramczyk up to a 90. I mean, that's not a lot to ask for, but it definitely is an improvement. But like I said, I can't argue with any of these ratings too much. And just overall, there's some gripes here and there, but I understand that the league in general and Madden in general probably looks at the New Orleans Saints as just like an 80 overall franchise, now that they don't have Drew Brees anymore. that's just kind of a wait and see how good they are first with Derek Carr before they start raising ranks, and see how healthy players like uh, Michael Thomas is, and if those defenders, I guess you got to see. He's still a 90, but he was hurt a lot last year as well, Marshawn Lattimore. But overall, these ratings are kind of what I would have expected for the most part, because, like I said, the league and media doesn't look at the Saints as like a marquee top team, so that obviously they're not going to be like a 90 overall rated team where every starter is like an 80 or better. So I get it, and really the only thing the Saints can do to change that and fix that is come out and, and show everyone they're wrong, basically. But and like I said, I don't even play traditional Madden. You can find me on Madden Mobile, which I think is a pretty fun game, honestly, and it's almost more like a trading card game, because each month or so, every 2 weeks or so, a different card, a higher rated card, a foil card comes out, and it's got its own style for the month. Whether it's Christmas or Halloween or Easter. It's almost more like a trading card game than it is like a football game. But I enjoy it, but I don't play traditional Madden, and so their rating systems are a lot different. But anyways, it should be interesting to see how this version of Madden does. Each year everyone says this is the worst Madden game yet, so I'm sure it'll be interesting, and we'll see how things go. And I'll be playing the newer version of Madden Mobile, I'm sure. It's Madden Mobile 23, so I'm sure in a month or so it'll be Madden Mobile 24. But anyways, who dats? I think that's all I have for you. So who dat? And can I get a check, please?